What's up, everyone? Welcome to the inaugural Game and Watch episode number 1, where we talk about Nintendo stuff. I am RGT85. I am joined by two members of the Spawncast. First off, we have Josie Woe. Josie, how you doing?
So good. So excited to be here, ready for the launch of the new pod.
You sound very nasally.
I'm super sick,
Hey,
so
but you showed up to work. Good job.
yep.
And of course, the man that needs no introduction, Nate Drake, Nate the Hate. Nate, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Looking forward to kickstarting this brand new podcast with the two of you and giving our listeners and fans new original content every week moving on from here.
Is this weekly? I didn't realize it was weekly. All right. See, we're learning as we go along here.
I thought it
Folks.
was weekly, or is it monthly?
I think it's bi-weekly. I think it's every 2 weeks, maybe. I don't know. See, John hasn't done the best job of informing everyone of everything, or even really talking about this Patreon stuff. But I figure if we shoot a show and we have some content on there, it'll kind of put his ass in gear and force him to put down something about this. So obviously, this isn't going to be the most original episode because A, it's episode 1. We're ironing out the kinks. There's no video. I don't know if they're going to include video and stuff like that. But there was a Nintendo Direct. We're actually filming this on the day of the Nintendo Direct, actually the evening post Nintendo Direct. And, you know, you got to talk about these things. But I think this was a very unique Nintendo Direct because of the fact that a lot of people online, and I don't know if you guys happen to see this, and feel free to chime in, I feel like there was a bit of a split with some people. I feel like this was one of the more divisive Nintendo Directs.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
agree. It seemed as though it wasn't quite the direct people were expecting from Nintendo, but people were also very happy with what was shown from Nintendo, while other people were hoping for more variety.
Yeah, I think there was one main type of game shown here, really, if you're looking first party wise, and that's just mostly Mario. And so if you're not a huge fan of Mario, which is not a lot of people, but that's I think that's where the split is.
Now, before we get into talking about individual games that we liked and hyping them up, there was sort of a narrative going into this Direct that don't expect anything too crazy. Don't expect like a big Direct per se, and then after seeing the titles, there was some conversation online where some people felt that this was kind of, a bit of a winding down for the Nintendo Switch based on the titles we saw. A lot of, enhanced ports, remakes, and, a 2D Mario game, more Mario ports and stuff like that. Did you get that feeling from this presentation where it was kind of like, good stuff, but obviously they're holding back some of the heavy hitters for the next iteration of whatever console or handheld they do?
To be honest, sort of, but I think it's really cool in this era right now because they can be like random and kind of really creative. Like we saw that with the Mario game, and it just seems like yeah, they're relying on some of their older games, but I don't like at the same time I think those older games are just have huge cult followings. They're really exciting regardless of really what like the age of them is, and I don't know. I'm just very hyped. I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, when I viewed this direct, it definitely had that tone of a transition. You can tell that Nintendo is beginning to pivot away from the Switch. They still have some quality original games planned for the hardware, but when you see titles like Luigi's Mansion 2, a title that's not building up to a bigger release, like you can look at Metroid Prime remastered earlier this year and say, well, that's building anticipation for Prime 4. Luigi's Mansion 2 just feels as one of those filler releases that you put in 2024 as the Switch is beginning to wind down and that a successor is just beyond the horizon. And even if you look at, Super Princess Peach, just the general tone was definitely that we're beginning our descent into hospice for this hardware.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I loved the presentation personally, and we'll talk about why in just a minute, because somebody gets a victory lap on this podcast here of retribution for hyping me up for this. And then there was something obviously very near and dear to my heart, but I definitely felt that was sort of the general thing. Like Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon kind of solidified it. It's like that's a random thing, like a good thing to port, because obviously, it'll look a hell of a lot better. And it looked great on the 3DS, but it'll obviously look better on the Switch. But it definitely felt, you know what I would say? It was almost like fan service. Like a lot of this stuff definitely felt like fan service. I guess we should talk
Yeah.
about like the biggest and most unique title, the end of the presentation, with Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Now, if you know anything about me, which hopefully you do, you know that I've been very critical about a new 2D Mario game, because Nintendo is I shouldn't say always, but in the past decade, when it comes to 2D Mario games, they've been very reserved. It's always been this new Super Mario Brothers style. The first game on the DS back in like 06, like that was unique. That was fine, but they never moved on from that, and it just felt like a total rehash. But when I look at Super Mario Brothers Wonder, even the character sprite of Mario and how his hat like flips up a little bit and you can see his hair, that showed me that they're actually trying something very different with this game. Feel free to chime in.
Yeah, I love the look of this game. I study animation in school, and so the way the character sprites are done, and the way everything kind of works together, and Mario's little in between animations where he's peeking his head out and stuff, to me it just really looks like they took a lot of care and put a lot of effort into this game. Um I think it's great that they're being like so creative with it and basically letting Mario go on a whole psychedelic trip through the mushrooms. It just looks phenomenal. I'm very excited.
Yeah, what stood out to me is that the game finally has a return of personality. And when
Yes.
you looked at 2D Mario games dating back to the NES, each new installment had a new personality that was achieved through its aesthetics. And that's what I'm seeing here. New Super Mario Brothers, as you mentioned, became very lazy. It had the same art style. It wasn't very visually exciting. It was originally back on the DS and the Wii. Those were exciting releases. But then when we saw it rehashed on the Wii U, it was just very, "Oh, this again." And not to dismiss what New Super Mario Bros. U was, it was a fantastic 2D Mario game. The level design is phenomenal. It's just that it was visually unexciting. And when I look at Super Mario Bros. Wonder, it has that excitement back into it. The finer details to the character models, the expressions the characters have on them, just the overall artistic direction of the stage design that we have seen so far. It's exciting, it's appealing. It feels like it's returning to the roots that made 2D Mario games so great in yesteryears and on prior platforms.
Yeah, I like how they sort of showed off like different gameplay styles in there as well, like the wonder stuff, like it transforms into a different world, and like the game kind of shifts a little bit. I think there's gonna be a ton of different change. Like I think they held back a lot of stuff for this game as far as showing things off from it, because all you needed was really a little taste to kind of understand the direction and kind of understand the vibe that they were going for. But I was definitely impressed. I was very skeptical of a new 2D Mario game because I was afraid that they were gonna half-ass it. And that's really what it boiled down to. I didn't buy New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe. Oh wait, I did buy it. And like I did buy it because I made a video on it, and like I didn't have fun with that game. Like it just felt so boring. It was vanilla. That's what it was. The Mario games had become extremely vanilla. And if you're someone who's older, or maybe even, someone Josie's age who's, played a good bit of Mario games, you would know that the better ones always have a little bit of that, personality showing through.
Yeah, it felt like the new Super Mario Bros. Felt like just super highly corporate produced. They didn't really have anything that was super special. And so with the return of that, I think it's going to get a lot of like new people really excited for it. something cool that they did was those silhouette areas, and they did that in Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, and that was like a highly loved like part of that game. And so bringing that into Mario, I think is super great as well, just like showing different artistic approaches that they're taking to the game.
So we also had a very big announcement. A long time coming, I feel. Super Mario RPG. Um, this
Man.
this was surprising to me. I had heard that there was rumors about it, but I was like, nah, man, I don't think that's gonna go down. And I have to be honest, I said it in my video talking about the direct. I have never played Super Mario RPG.
Whoa, what?
I've never played it. I
Not
didn't.
even when it was released on like the Virtual Console, Super NES Classic. None of them.
None of them. I've never even booted the game up. So this
Wow.
to me is very cool because I've heard how great it is, and I've heard people say, how they want a sequel to this, that, and the other. Look, this is going to be, if you have any chance of this game ever getting a sequel, this is going to be the litmus test to see if people give a damn if they speak with their wallet with this. But I loved seeing that. I thought that was absolutely fantastic, a smart idea, and the visual style, once again, to me, that Mario character looked awfully similar to the one that we saw in Super Mario Brothers Wonder, correct? Or was I?
Yeah, I agree. It has a
Yeah.
very similar look as what they're taking, and maybe that's the new direction that they're going to take Mario models, moving forward. But I also love how true it stayed to the original vision of what Super Mario RPG was on the Super NES. And the fact that Nintendo and Square Enix could come to an agreement to remake this game is nothing short of just astonishing. And it's a very exciting release for anybody who is, well, our age and remembers the original game 20 plus years ago. And, it seemed as though Josie may have played it on Virtual Console or even on the SNES Classic because she did say, whoa, to your
I think she was
comment of
just.
never playing it.
I think she was just plugging her channel of Josie Woe.
No, I'm. I think it's. I've never played it actually, but
Okay, so what the
I
hell?
know a lot of. Well, I was being ironic,
Uh,
but I know a lot about about the game because it's so like well known and stuff. But I feel like it's kind of a very like specific cult classic game, and it's super cool that Nintendo dug back in the trenches and picked this one out.
yeah, I thought that looked absolutely amazing. Honestly, up until that game, I wasn't really feeling the direct. Like starting out with Pokemon DLC, like get out of here, dude. Like that's cool, but like I don't know. The detective does anyone like Detective Pikachu? Was that
I was actually
Okay.
kind of excited.
Okay. You're excited, so I'm going to let you speak on it first because I'm going to eviscerate it.
yeah, well
Oh really? Oh no. Um, I just I like the idea of a Pikachu addicted to coffee and you solve mysteries in the Pokemon world. It seems really like stupid but kind of fun. Um, but I'm willing to admit that it's probably bad. So, Nate, if you want to destroy it, go ahead.
This was one of the worst looking Switch games I have ever seen.
it's the
This
same
looked
engine
Yeah,
as
it does
Scarlet
look
and
bad.
Violet.
Is it this? Do you remember when the Citra emulator came out with Detective Pikachu and Pikachu was all flat textured and it had no shadows? This looks
Yes.
like a 3DS game running on an emulator. It looks terrible. There's no reason this game cannot look like Pokemon Snap.
Well, I mean, one one was made by Bandai Namco, who knows how to make a modern looking game, and one wasn't. Yeah, like it did nothing for me. Like, hey, I'm Pikachu. I like coffee. You want to go solve some crimes? It's like, bro, like, I get it. Maybe there's people out there because the problem with Pokemon fans is, not to be mean, but maybe I will be a little bit mean. It's kind of cultish. There is definitely a cultish aspect to them where they just buy anything. Like it doesn't matter what it is, if it's any good or not. They just buy it. So, that's a whole topic for another day, but like that's just something that if you're putting out minimal effort and
Yeah.
people are still buying it and you're making money, like you don't care. You're not going to
Like,
try really hard.
and that's the thing with this release. It could be great in terms of storytelling, gameplay. There's just no excuse for the game to look this poorly on the Switch. I mean, I've seen people compare it to a PlayStation 2 game, and I can't say it's hyperbole because
No.
Pikachu is a flat texture. There's no shadows in this game. I don't understand why this game took the entire generation to be developed. It feels as though this game was a 3DS game that they kind of shelved, and then in the last couple of years, they said, "Can we port it over to the Switch?" Yeah, we can. And that's what we got.
Yeah, the more I see different Pokemon games and stuff, the more I realize that Game Freak just shouldn't be the developers. They got to give this to someone else.
Or ask for help. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with asking for help when you clearly need it. Like this is like Game Freak is like the crackhead outside of the 7-Eleven. Like they need help. And you know, they should accept it at this point because there's some issues going on there. We did see some games that we were aware of, that we have seen previously. Sonic Superstars made another appearance here with some new gameplay footage. 2D games. All of a sudden, some of my most hyped games are 2D games. Sonic Superstars, Prince of Persia, and now Super Mario Brothers Wonder. But what are we thinking about Sonic Superstars? Because obviously, you know, 2D Sonic games are usually really good, but the Sonic franchise itself kind of has a negative stigma about it. But, you know, Frontiers helped it a little bit. But what are we thinking about this game?
I have previously had zero interest in Sonic at all. I didn't even care about Frontiers, but this I kind of like because I like the 2D aspect of it. I mean, Sonic Mania I think is really good, but other than that, I have not cared about the Sonic franchise in the slightest. And so the fact that this is going back to the roots, it looks pretty good, and the fact that you can play it co-op is pretty cool to me.
My only hesitation with this game is that it looks like it lacks momentum. And I know they said they ported over the Mania physics engine and everything, but whenever I see the footage, it doesn't look fast. And maybe it's just a perception of watching the trailer, and maybe it will feel as though it is quicker when I'm playing it. But right now, it just looks like a slow Sonic game, and hopefully that isn't the case because 2D Sonic games are always quality, and it would be great for them to finally deliver a high quality 2D Sonic game again. But it just comes back down to that co developer, which is Asrest, who did Balan Wonderworld.
Good
And
lord.
that brings me a little bit of, fear that it may just be another mediocre Sonic game.
And I mean that's fair, but once again, much like Pokemon fans, Sonic the Hedgehog fans are cultists, and I'm a part of the cult. I will completely admit that. I think Sonic Forces isn't a bad game. I play anything Sonic, so I'm super stoked for this game. There was a lot of other stuff. Tell me some of your highlights from this event. We'll start with Josie. What were a game or two that stood out for you and why?
They're pretty much just the main ones. Like I really liked well, the tease of Super Princess Peach I think is like super intriguing. I'm very excited for what that possibly could be. And then I'm big on Pikmin. I don't know if anyone else in this podcast is, but the fact that they're bringing over 1 and 2 was also super huge for me because I haven't played those games, but I loved 3 and I like have dabbled in them, on Dolphin, but like I haven't beaten them. Yeah. But I haven't beaten them or like really gotten anywhere far. So I think by bringing them over the Switch, it'll make it a lot more accessible. Plus, having the entire franchise on the Switch now is really, really cool to people like trying to get into the franchise.
Yeah, those.
Yeah,
I was gonna say
I'll
those.
echo Pikmin.
Yeah,
I'll echo that.
I might even say that because I'm not gonna buy it on day one, but whenever it goes down to $41.99, which will be the lowest it ever goes to, I might pick it up then. I kind of liked what I saw from that game. I've never been a big fan of Pikmin. It's just never done anything for me.
See, I like Pikmin 1. Pikmin 2, I never really played that much when it came back, on the GameCube back in the day. And then it came to the Wii, but by then I was kind of disinterested in Pikmin. So I definitely have interest in, replaying Pikmin 1 right now. Probably get the physical copy that comes out in September instead of going digital at this point. Um, Another game that I was glad to finally see released because it finally get you off my back is The Dark Knight,
Oh God, I was so
Batman,
happy. I was
Arkham.
so happy. Josie, have you played any of the Arkham games?
I've actually played all of them with my brother.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yes, I'm very excited for this. Nate had told me long ago that this was happening. It's been literally years I've been asking, where is my Batman?
Yeah, it's been
Where
at
is my
least
Batman?
18 months.
At least 18 months. But I mean, a lot of people, even when this was a rumor, a lot of people thought that, oh, is Arkham Knight going to be on there? Because obviously that was a PlayStation 4, Xbox One game. And it does appear that Arkham Knight is in its full capacity on this trilogy of the games. No Arkham Origins. Why don't people... Somebody's going to have to answer this for me. What's the beef with Arkham Origins? Because I don't think it's a bad game.
I actually thoroughly enjoy Arkham Origins. I think the only reason it continues to elude this release is that it's not a Rocksteady game, and this is the Rocksteady trilogy.
Ah, okay. Because I love the ending scene of Arkham Origins is freaking fantastic. But yes, I am very excited for this. Arkham City is one of my favorite video games. Period. Not the biggest fan of Arkham Knight because the Batmobile stuff. I don't know. It felt like way too tacked on for me. It didn't feel very well done, but I am super excited for this. This is going to be awesome. I would say my personal exciting announcement was I was slightly vindicated as well, because when the Metal Gear Solid collection was announced, I made a video proclaiming that I felt it was coming to the Switch. Some people doubted that. And then we got, when I heard the, I was like, oh my God. And, they've added in more stuff. Now, Josie, have you played any Metal Gear?
No, not a single one.
You are in for a treat, my friend. Actually, you're not, because they probably haven't aged all that great for modern players. At least play 3. But no. So you're getting the 3 main games, 1, 2, and 3. I am curious to see if it's, because they slightly tweak some things with Metal Gear Solid. If you remember, they got rid of the name diazepam for the sedative drug that you use when you're sniping, because that's an actual drug. They changed it to pentazamine. And they also, in Twin Snakes, they changed Mei Ling's voice. They made her sound like more Western, I guess, because she didn't sound that way. She sounded very Oriental in the original version of the game. So I'll be curious to see what's going on with that. But beyond that, you get the VR missions for Metal Gear Solid 1. You get Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, which were MSX home computer titles. And today they also announced, and this was actually very surprising, but I also feel like it's a big FU to Kojima, that Metal Gear NES and Metal Gear Snake's Revenge NES are also going to be a part of this collection. Now, if you know anything about the history of Metal Gear, you know that Kojima had nothing to do with those games. He didn't even know that they were happening, and then they happened, and then they did a sequel, and he had no freaking idea about that either until it was out. So that was kind of funny to me. There's going to be the digital novel, 2 versions of the digital novel. There's strategy guides and stuff that they're putting in there. This actually feels like, I don't want to give them too much credit, but it actually feels like Konami is making an effort here. This is the most effort, because you could say, oh, well, what about the Castlevania and Contra stuff? That was other companies doing it. They just pretty much licensed out that stuff. This actually feels like Konami themselves is the one doing it. They're the ones making the merch. They're the ones that are promoting it. It's all themselves. So that I was so happy to see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be great to replay Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, especially in handheld, because, we both played it on the Vita.
Mm-hmm.
And now a whole new audience will get that opportunity to play these 2 fantastic PlayStation 2 games in portable mode. And as long as performance holds up, which it should, it's based on the Blue Point versions of the game that came out on the Xbox 360, PS3, and everything. So there's no reason the game shouldn't be rock solid on the Switch. This is a fantastic release. I mean, unfortunately, we did learn that physical copy essentially has nothing on it.
Yeah, that's my video for tomorrow. Definitely some people were outraged about that, but at this point, like it shouldn't be that big of a surprise to you. Like, do you think the Batman stuff's not going to be all on the cartridge? You might get Asylum on there if you're lucky, but that's not going to be all on the cartridge. They might even do a physical release for that, because when you look at the file sizes of this stuff, Konami doesn't. They're not compressing anything here. They're just like throwing it. It's crazy, these file sizes, and they obviously, like, I'm still gonna buy it physically. I just want it for the collection. But I mean, I'll play them digitally.
Mhm.
Maybe I can get a review copy of it. But yes, that was a huge and exciting announcement for me.
I have a question about Metal Gear.
Go on.
Who is the main character? It's not Snake.
No, it is Snake. It's Solid. Well, I mean, Metal Gear Solid 1, you play as Solid Snake. Metal Gear Solid 2, you start out as Solid Snake, and then you play as someone else. Metal Gear Solid 3, you play as Big Boss, who is
The original Snake.
the original Snake.
Okay. Was I not lit up on the Spawncast for saying that I know who it is because of Snake? And you guys were like, he's not even in it.
Wait, what?
This is this is why I remember this question, because it was a whole thing, but I was just wondering.
But no, we were talking about Metal Gear Solid 3, I think.
Oh, and that's the one. It's not Snake.
Right, it's Big Boss.
Yeah.
Wow.
The original
Unfortunate.
Snake.
Yeah, Snake is a clone of Big Boss.
Les Enfants Terribles. The three brothers of terribleness.
Wow. This is a lot of lore.
No.
There is.
It's crazy, the amount of lore. And you also have to play the MSX games, because all of that is canon. Like the NES, the reason why the NES stuff is interesting is because, well, the first game is kind of it's based on a canon game. So the MSX version, which is a Japanese home computer, had Metal Gear. And Konami, the Western part of Konami, decided to bring it over. So Kojima didn't know that was happening, and they changed some stuff to make it a little bit, obviously for the limitations of the NES, because the MSX was a stronger system. But beyond that, just because of the fact that they just wanted to change some things up. Snake's Revenge, which is also in this collection, has nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing to do with it. It's not even acknowledged. Like, at least Metal Gear NES, it kind of gets acknowledged, but Snake's Revenge doesn't. So that's kind of why it's like a big FU to Kojima. But I definitely feel. Go ahead.
So if I wanted to play these games for the first time, like, what would I start with?
Well, see, here's the thing.
Man. I mean, 99% of people started with Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation 1.
But that game is extremely dated. It's still a great game, don't get me wrong, but you would have to be able to put the PS1 is one of the worst consoles as far as revisiting the games, or even visiting the games for the first time, because that was the first generation of 3D. At least with the Nintendo, like, you had these big chunky polygons, and so like it kind of worked for most of the 3D stuff if it wasn't fog based. But with PlayStation, like, they were trying to just like brute force stuff, and because of that, it's not the best looking game. It's gonna feel very jank and kind of weird, but if you can stick with it, it's fantastic. But I definitely think that that's kind of the place to start as well, just because like the MSX games, they're fun, but unless you're just like a hardcore Metal Gear fan, or you're just a hardcore retro gamer fan, you could just read a synopsis of the stories that happen within those games, because really the series didn't get into the limelight until it was Metal Gear Solid.
Right. And not to stay on this topic for too long, but did you see the leak that found controller prompts for Metal Gear Solid 4, Peace Walker, and Metal Gear Solid 5 for potentially the Metal Gear Solid Collection Part 2?
Oh my. Oh my. How would they do Metal Gear Solid 4 though?
I don't care. I just want it on modern platforms.
I know, I've been hacker man over here. I've been playing it on my emulator on my computer. I'm like halfway through the game. It's such a good game. It still holds up amazing. It still looks great. It still plays great. Like, that's one of the best games. I don't care. If you get addicted to the story of Metal Gear Solid 4 is just the icing on the cake. And the series should have ended there, because God almighty did they get weird.
That game was
Metal
Pure
Gear
fan
Solid 5. And dude, it
service.
was like the characters that you would never think were coming back. Like, hey, look, I'm back. It's like, what? What are you doing here?
Hey, it's you.
It's like,
We're going back to this location. Cool. Like, I
yeah,
can't wait. That game, it was carny as hell, but man, did I love it.
yeah. I had so many memories of playing online. All right, this isn't the Metal Gear cast though. I do want to spotlight one more game, and then you guys can talk about something. Penny's Big Breakaway.
That's great.
This is the 3D platformer from the Sonic Mania team, and wow, this looked like a 2D Sega platformer from back in the day made into like a 3D game.
Yep.
Like the color schemes and stuff, it definitely felt like Rystar, Tempo, old Sonic games that had those bright colors. I thought this game looked very, very cool and has a lot of potential with a 2024 release.
I do too. I think it could be a very fun, kind of random, quirky platformer. I'm wondering, do you think that it's gonna be full price? Probably not, right?
That's a good question. I don't know. What do you think, Nate?
I mean, given the scope of the game, I could see this coming in at, a full $60, but I mean, who's publishing it? It's
Game is developed by Private Division.
I think it has a really good chance of selling well if they price it right. But I think $60, I don't know if this game is gonna do super well.
As a new IP. Yeah, because it is,
Yeah.
a new IP. Nobody really has ever heard. I mean, you know about Christian Whitehead because he's been around for so long. What other games has Private Division published?
They published The Outer Worlds.
Oh.
Okay. Oh, okay. So they've done Ollie World. They've done Hades. They've done. So they haven't done much. They've only done, it looks like, a handful of games, honestly. But, Ollie World, Hades, those were budget titles. Those weren't full prices. So, I think it depends. Just kind of, how they position it, how they market it, and sort of what people are willing to pay for it. I'm sure they'll do some market research there. Anything else that stood out for anyone? I feel like I might be missing something. Oh, Dragon Quest Monsters. I liked this. I was a fan of the DS game, and this was good to see. It's like if Game Freak had talent, it would probably look something like this game.
Oh man, Game Freak is getting roasted in this episode.
They're not talented in terms of visuals. But no, I was definitely I like this. This will be something I will play. I like kind of Pokemon-esque games when they actually look like video games, proper games. So this to me looked really good. Definitely something very cool and surprising. I would say it was a bit surprising as well because once again, I know there was predictions out there. I believe, Nate, you were talking about it on your thing, but
yes.
you never know. Predictions are great, but there's always that chance that something could change and then whatever. But definitely very cool to see that.
Yeah, one of the other games I was very happy to finally see be revealed, and something I had talked about a week ago when Square Enix had leaked the logo for the game, was Star Ocean 2.
Oh my
And
God.
The visual direction of the game
Yeah.
is just amazing. I love the scope and ambition they're doing with this project. And it was almost like the evolution of HD 2D. When I saw the 3D environments with the 2D pixel art for the characters, I was just looking at it saying, wow, Square Enix, you just keep making these HD2 games better. And Star Ocean 2 getting respect is so justly justified for the franchise because Star Ocean sucks now.
Oh yeah,
but they used to be good, and Star Ocean 2 is one of the best entries to the series.
What is this game? Is this from the SNES era or?
It was, I believe, it was SNES and PS1.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I played the Star Ocean on PS1 back in the day, the first one that came out on there. and I liked it for sure, but I also don't remember a lot of it, just kind of retrospectively remembering. But yeah, that visual style, that's the move right there. That looked absolutely gorgeous. Because the thing nowadays is, a lot of these games are going for that hyper realistic style, and they kind of blend together. Like look at a PlayStation or an Xbox presentation, not discounting any of those games, but there's kind of a template: medieval, outer space, and it's like, oh, all these games are sort of blending together. But then you have this, which is just the polar opposite of what the trends are, the polar opposite of what the industry is kind of gravitating towards with these huge development cycles for these ultra realistic games. And it becomes unique. It becomes stand out. Like that was a standout title during this presentation. It's also available on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. Sorry, Xboxers, you miss out yet again. I guess that Square Enix and Microsoft beef still goes on. But yeah, awesome looking game.
Is this one getting a physical? Do we know?
They're doing a collector's edition that's like $200 as well.
Holy moly. All right.
And it's like because it's a Square Enix exclusive one, so the shipping is also ridiculous. If you bought the Pixel Remasters physical,
man,
that shipping was ridiculous for just
yeah.
one game.
I had the Pixel Remastered Collector's Edition pre-ordered, and I was like, I can't do this. The shipping was like $50.
Jesus.
So I think it was priced at what, like $250, and
Yeah.
with shipping, it was taking it well over $300. I was like, I'm not gonna spend $300 on this game. I'm sorry,
Dude, even the standard edition was kind of high just for like a single game. It's like, what the hell, man? And it came in like a crappy bubble mail envelope, because I remember getting it and I was like, is this something I bought off of eBay? And I was like, no, it was that. And I was like, you couldn't give me a box, like a standard
Nope.
little nice box? Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, like the standard edition, I think the shipping was $25.
Yeah, something crazy. It's I don't
Ridiculous.
even know why I have it. I'm not playing them. It's sealed. I'm not gonna play them anytime soon.
Resale value.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't know. I don't really care about that. So overall, if we had to give this Nintendo Direct a letter grade, and we'll start out with Josie, what would you give this on A to F scale? You could do pluses and minuses should you choose to do such.
Okay, I'm gonna give it a flat A. I think it was really, really good. I think it just appealed to me in every way because I'm huge on Mario, and so I got like all this Mario stuff and like a bunch of new experiences that not necessarily that they're new games, but for me they're new experiences like Mario RPG that I've never played. And I just like the insight to look into the future of Nintendo as well with the Princess Peach and Luigi's Mansion, and then the Pikmin stuff. It was just like it just felt very catered. So A for me.
Nate?
It's really tough for me to think of a letter grade for this Direct because if I view it as strictly a Nintendo fan and as that, a Mario fan, it definitely delivered on that front. If I go into it expecting a little more variety from Nintendo's own output, there was very little here outside of Mario. So you could say, it failed on that. But if I look at the third party variety, you had Sonic, Metal Gear Solid, Star Ocean. There was some decent variety there. Not a lot in terms of brand new announcements. Star Ocean 2 was a new announcement. But just as a Nintendo fan, I'd probably come in with a strong B plus.
I'm gonna go out on a limb, and you know what? I was gonna say A minus, but I'm gonna go with Josie. I'm gonna go with a solid A because much like she felt it was catered to her, I got Mario, Sonic, Batman, and Metal Gear Solid in one presentation, and I don't care that some of these are multi-platform games. Like that's cool. Some of these are older games. Older games to me, it doesn't mean a bad thing because a lot of these older games are a hell of a lot better than these newer games are. And that's why they're being re-released. But just the presentation, like there was stuff I didn't care about. Fae Farm, the weird cozy Fortnite looking game that you go out. Like I don't
that
care.
looks bad.
I don't care about these games. The Splatfest. What's your favorite ice cream? Like you sound like
Strawberry.
Herbert the pervert there. Like you want to get some ice cream?
Jeez.
Like that's weird. But then I feel like there was, unless you're like a Metroid fan, there was like something for everyone, because there was a ton of RPGs, there was a ton of action games, there's a ton of updates on games we knew about and stuff. I'm gonna go with an A, and you could call me. And it's not even necessarily because of the Nintendo stuff. The Nintendo stuff was very cool. Super Mario RPG, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, very cool stuff. But the Sonic, the Metal Gear, the Batman, like those are franchises I talk about all the time. So if you're gonna call me anything, call me a third party whore. And I mean, I guess the shoe fits with that. So
A little bit.
I do feel like we could finally close the discussion on a 2023 release of a successor, though, which is that's got shout outs to all the Nintendo channels out there. You're up shit's creek right now, because we pretty much know everything that's going to happen this year. So you're going to have to actually review and play games instead of just talking about them. Does anyone else notice that? Is it just me? I don't know. All right. So I guess this is good enough for a first episode. We're at the 40-minute mark. Any final things we want to say before we go off?
I had a good time. This was cool. I like talking about Nintendo. I talk a lot more about this stuff than Xbox and PlayStation because I know more, so it's a good time.
Yeah, I mean, this was a good first episode. We'll still iron out things. We'll get our footing. And, I think a direct is a good launch pad for a first episode. And, Nintendo had the direct that they needed to have at the moment. You had tons of people saying, there's no more games after Zelda. Pikmin 4 is going to be the last big Switch game. And that type of take and opinion was always absurd. Nintendo came out and said, whoa, calm down. We have a lot more coming this year. And you know what? There's still a couple of gaps in the calendar year right now. And Nintendo always likes to have another direct in the second half of the year. So maybe we still get another release this year. Maybe they continue to do the GameCube Shadow Drop type initiative that they've introduced way back in February. Did it again today. So could still have some releases from Nintendo as the year continues. But, good show. Good way for Nintendo to silence all those doubters saying no more heavy hitters. You dropped a 2D Mario game. It's going to sell 10, 15 million copies potentially this fiscal year. And, definitely something to look forward to if you're a Nintendo fan for the duration of the calendar year.
I actually fully agree with you with once is as an anomaly, or once is a coincidence, twice there's a pattern. And both of these presentations, they talked about, they did these stealth drops of GameCube games, of Metroid Prime Remastered, and now Pikmin 1 and 2. I could definitely see something, because a lot of people were expecting some maybe Tears of the Kingdom DLC at this event. Way too soon for it. But if we're talking about the September Direct, well, you say, oh, here's some Tears of the Kingdom DLC coming in November or December or something like that. And by the way, now available on the Nintendo Switch eShop, Twilight Princess and Wind Waker. There's a physical edition coming out in like 2 months. Like, I definitely think there's a precedent set now, to almost to the point of where I'm expecting there to be some GameCube stuff at this event, just nonchalantly talked about and then dropped. Like, I think, and obviously, in a year or two, that's not going to be the case. But I feel like for 2023, that's definitely something that seems to be a bit of a focus.
Yeah, they're like our version of the Smash reveals. New thing.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and especially, we go into September, let's just say in a hypothetical scenario, we get a Metroid Prime 4 trailer. What better time to shadow drop Metroid Prime 2?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Now there's so many permutations of how Nintendo could approach this. And if you have that hype and anticipation going into the shows, it's really exciting. And, maybe it'll be a topic in a future episode where we could explore, why is Nintendo doing these shadow drops and releasing the physical versions 2 to 3 months later?
That's an interesting topic. Maybe that will be our next topic, which could be next week, according to Jose, or 2 weeks, according to me. I don't know. We'll have to ask John. But definitely thank you guys for tuning in to this inaugural episode of Game and Watch. Why do I feel like it was called Game and Talk? Game and Talk. This is Game and Talk. episode 1. And yeah, thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for supporting the Patreon. Hopefully John has officially launched this by the time you're listening to this episode, or else there's going to be like 3 people listening to this. And to those 3 people, thank you very much. We'll catch you guys on the next episode.